Why is it that we hesitate to talk about mental health in the same way we discuss physical health? Indeed, it's a question that warrants some serious thought. In our society, there's an unspoken yet omnipresent stigma surrounding mental health, especially when it comes to the topic of suicide. This is a subject that for many is steeped in discomfort and often shrouded in silence. It's as if we've collectively decided that this is a conversation too difficult to have, a topic too taboo to touch. But why should this be? Why should a discussion about our mental well-being be any different or any less important than a discussion about our physical health? The silence surrounding this issue only serves to perpetuate the stigma, exacerbating the feelings of isolation and despair felt by those who are struggling. It's time to break the silence, it's time to break the stigma. Hear from the experts who are on the front lines of combating mental health stigma every day. The voice of experience often carries the most weight, and in the realm of mental health, professionals have a lot to say. They've seen the impact of stigma firsthand, they've witnessed the struggles of those affected, and they've dedicated their lives to sparking change. Dr. Ann Thompson, a seasoned psychologist, shares her perspective. In my years of practice, I've seen how stigma can isolate individuals, making them feel as though they're alone in their struggle. It's important to remember that mental health issues, including suicidal thoughts, do not signify weakness. They are simply part of the human experience. Clinical social worker Michael Stevens echoes this sentiment. Stigma creates barriers to seeking help. It discourages open dialogue and it perpetuates harmful stereotypes. This is why we need to talk about mental health openly, without judgment or fear. But it's not just about talking, it's about understanding too. Psychiatric nurse Lisa Davis emphasizes this point. Understanding is fundamental. We need to understand that mental health issues are not a choice, they're not a character flaw. They're a part of life for many people and we need to support, not stigmatize. The consensus among professionals is clear. Stigma is harmful, but it can be combated. It's about fostering dialogue, promoting understanding, and working to change societal perceptions. It's about recognizing that mental health issues are a part of our shared human experience and treating them with the compassion and respect they deserve. As psychiatrist Dr. Robert Evans puts it, stigma thrives in silence. The antidote is open, honest conversation. The more we talk about mental health, the more we normalize it. And the more we normalize it, the more we break down the walls of stigma. These professionals, and many others like them, work tirelessly to combat stigma and promote understanding. They know the power of conversation, the importance of empathy, and the impact of compassion. The professionals agree, dialogue and understanding are key. But what exactly does this stigma do? How does it affect those suffering? Imagine walking around with an invisible weight on your shoulders, a weight that's not only unseen, but misunderstood by many. This is the reality for those facing the stigma associated with mental health, particularly when it comes to suicide. The impact of this stigma is substantial and far-reaching, influencing the lives of individuals in a host of detrimental ways. Firstly, stigma creates a culture of silence. It discourages open discussions about mental health, making it much harder for those struggling to voice their experiences or ask for help. This silence often leads to a dangerous cycle of suffering in solitude, feeling unable to reach out due to fear of judgment, misunderstanding, or rejection. Moreover, stigma amplifies feelings of isolation. When society stigmatizes mental health issues, individuals grappling with such issues may feel singled out or different. They may feel as if they are the only ones struggling, which can exacerbate feelings of loneliness and despair. Stigma also impedes access to help. It's not uncommon for those facing mental health issues to avoid seeking professional help due to the fear of being labeled, marginalized, or discriminated against. This can delay critical treatment and support, escalating the risk of harm. Perhaps one of the most insidious effects of stigma is the internalization of negative stereotypes. Over time, individuals may begin to believe in the stigmatizing attitudes and prejudices surrounding mental health. This self-stigma can lead to decreased self-esteem, increased self-doubt, and a weakened sense of self-worth. Stigma can even extend to those around the individual, such as family and friends. They too may experience social isolation and judgment, leading to a ripple effect that further isolates the individual. The effects of stigma are far-reaching, but they don't have to be permanent. It's important to remember that we have the power to change this narrative. By fostering understanding, compassion, and open dialogue, we can begin to dismantle the stigma, creating a society where mental health is treated with the same understanding and respect as physical health. Now that we understand the problem, how can we be part of the solution? It's time for us to roll up our sleeves and take actionable steps towards breaking down the stigma surrounding suicide. Firstly, it starts with education. We need to familiarize ourselves with the realities of suicide and mental health. It's about understanding that mental health issues are not a sign of weakness, but a complex interplay of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. It's about knowing that mental health issues are not a choice, and that no one should be blamed or shamed for them. The second step is engaging in open conversations. Silence perpetuates stigma. By talking about suicide openly, we can challenge and change the harmful stereotypes and misconceptions that surround it. These conversations can be uncomfortable, but they are necessary. It's about creating safe spaces where people feel heard, understood, and accepted rather than judged, dismissed, or alienated. Finally, we must promote empathy and understanding. This is about seeing the person, not the illness. It's about listening without judgment, offering support without conditions, and providing comfort without platitudes. It's about recognizing the struggles that others are going through and acknowledging their pain and their courage. When we educate ourselves, when we engage in open conversations, when we promote empathy and understanding, we are not just breaking down the stigma. We are building a culture of compassion and acceptance. We are creating a world where people who are struggling with their mental health feel seen, heard, and valued. We are making it easier for people to reach out for help, and we are making it less likely for people to feel alone in their struggles. Remember, breaking down the stigma is not a one-time act. It's a continuous effort. It's a collective responsibility, and it's an act of kindness and courage that can save lives. Each of us has the power to break down the stigma. So let's use that power wisely, compassionately, and relentlessly. Let's be part of the solution, and let's make a difference. Let's hear from those who have faced this stigma head-on and emerged stronger. We begin with Jamie, who felt trapped in a world that didn't understand her. She was battling depression, and the whispers and glances she received only made her feel more isolated. But Jamie decided to break free from this vicious cycle. She sought help, she embraced therapy, and she began to understand her own mind better. Jamie's resilience turned her life around. She now uses her experience to help others who are walking the same path she once did. Next, we meet Sam, who had an encounter with suicidal thoughts in his late teens. He felt as though he was sinking in quicksand, with every struggle only pulling him deeper. But Sam found his lifeline in the form of a support group. This group gave him a safe space to share his feelings, his fears, and his hopes. Sam learned that he was not alone, and this realization was his first step towards triumph. Today, Sam is a mental health advocate, using his voice to reach out to those who feel unheard. And then there's Maria, who experienced severe anxiety and panic attacks. The stigma attached to her condition made her feel like she was carrying a heavy burden alone. But Maria chose to fight. She learned coping mechanisms, she practiced mindfulness, and she found strength in her vulnerability. Maria's journey is a testament to the power of self-care and understanding. She now works to dismantle the stigma surrounding mental health, one conversation at a time. Finally, we hear from Alex, who faced the stigma while battling bipolar disorder. He felt misunderstood, judged, and alienated. But Alex decided to rise above. He sought professional help, he learned to manage his symptoms, and he found solace in art. Alex transformed his struggle into a source of inspiration, and he now uses his art to foster understanding about mental health issues. These stories of resilience inspire us all to be part of the change. So now that we've broken down the stigma, what's next? Well, the journey to breaking down the stigma doesn't end here. It's a continuous process that requires consistent effort from all of us. It starts with you, me, and everyone else willing to make a difference. It starts with reaching out to those around us who may be struggling, letting them know they're not alone. It's about educating others on the importance of mental health, debunking misconceptions, and promoting understanding. It's about creating a safe space for people to open up about their struggles, to express their feelings without fear of judgment. It's about fostering an open and compassionate dialogue about mental health in our homes, our workplaces, and our communities. It's about standing up against the stigmatization of mental health and advocating for those who are silenced by it. Remember, your actions can make a world of difference. Reach out, speak up, and help us break down the stigma around mental health.